Mahotsav. This is a unique and beautiful celebration of our beautiful country's 75th Independence Day. It is immensely humbling, and it is also a moment of immense pride as we participate in this incredible journey of India and India's rich heritage. It is my honor to invite Eric Falt, Director and UNESCO representative to Bhutan, India, Maldives, and Sri Lanka, to share his opening remarks and to launch the campaign. Over to you, Eric.
Thank you, Mika, and a very warm welcome to everyone present here with us today. Let me begin by expressing my sincere appreciation to all of those who've worked tirelessly to put together this partnership between Netflix and UNESCO here in India. It's certainly a groundbreaking partnership, and we're all very excited. And I'm sure that since it is Friday the 13th, it can only bring us luck. UNESCO was the leading UN specialized agency with a mandate on culture. It recognizes, I really want to say that at the outset, the power of culture and creativity for bringing people together, for celebrating diversity, and also for connecting international communities. That's why on this special occasion, we're very pleased to mark the launch of our joint digital media campaign with Netflix under the slogan, "One Country, Incredible Diversity." This campaign represents for us a shared vision and commitment to promote India's vibrant cultural heritage through media and digital platforms, and to make Indian culture even more accessible around the world. By joining hands, UNESCO and Netflix endeavor to highlight and promote this extraordinary cultural heritage, more specifically through a series of videos from the widely popular Netflix animation series, Mighty Little Beam. Mighty Little Beam is firmly rooted in Indian culture, but it has also transcended geographical boundaries to become today one of Netflix's most watched series. It showcases a number of aspects of India's rich cultural heritage. Of course, it focuses on, from time to time, on the monuments, but perhaps more importantly, it showcases the living heritage of the country, such as the oral traditions, the traditional performing arts, rituals, festive events, and much more. And that's why the series has really successfully managed to place Indian culture on the global stage, and why we decided to focus more specifically on this. For better and for worse, I think we have to recognize that technology has brought us together like never before. And the global digital landscape, just like the COVID-19 pandemic, has shown us that for many aspects of our lives, there are no boundaries. And in this context, it is sometimes found that animated programs, especially those for children, sometimes are out of sync with the real environment, and representation in the media remains another challenge. So for international organizations, including UNESCO, it's important to take the lead and work with partners like Netflix to encourage diversification of digital platforms. The onus to bring the less represented to the mainstream is still, of course, on the wider creative and media industry. And really, I want to commend Netflix and Green Gold Animation for their unprecedented efforts in increasing the diversity of content and ideas in this case in animated and of course in digital productions. Their creative efforts to uplift the splendor of India's culture by making it more accessible for families, parents, and children in India, but also around the world, really deserves great praise. And that's why we're so excited about the launch of this partnership. With our joint campaign, there is an idea that culture is best practiced when it is shared. And these efforts to bring together communities through the digital space certainly will offer, we hope, a greater impetus to celebrate India's spirit of unity and diversity. And of course, it's not a coincidence if we decided to launch this on the occasion of and around Independence Day. For us at UNESCO, culture has an unparalleled potential to foster global understanding and peace, and an exposure to cultural diversity from a very young age, we firmly believe also contributes to build a more inclusive, peaceful, and resilient future where from a very young age we can learn to live together. And that is why we believe that high quality content such as Mighty Little Beam can be a vehicle through which children, young people, can engage with stories and experiences from every corner of the world with more different heroes and themes than they are used to. And we recognize that this is an important potential, and that's why we want to encourage creative, innovative, and inclusive spaces. It's important also that our first ever partnership between Netflix and UNESCO starts with India. India is the country with the world's largest youth population, and we certainly realize and know that it is crucial for India to produce more locally relevant stories that resonate with its young demographic. While COVID-19 has brought the world even closer, perhaps in spirit, it has also, we have seen, accelerated the recognition of local heroes and those we may often forget in our everyday lives. And our campaign aims to sort of amalgamate the power of culture with diversity, both at home and beyond, because this is truly a global campaign, and to celebrate these stories. Culture and creativity have kept us going despite the pandemic, and certainly Netflix was a very important tool for all of us to keep going. It has been a source of connectivity with the world, with art, with communities. That's why our campaign is an effort to continue the spirit of cultural diversity beyond borders, beyond COVID-19. And our strong hope remains that with greater access to culture and the digital environment, a more harmonious and sustainable world can be built. I know that this is the wish of every single one of us. As we pace towards the achievement of the promises of the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, it's quite clear that we must step together and exchange ideas more than ever. So this campaign will try to raise the threshold for inclusivity, for access, and for connectivity, and I'm confident that we will pave the way for making even more culturally diverse digital spaces. I need to stop here. I've been already a little bit too long, but I really wanted to set the stage, and I look forward to the rest of the program today for the discussions, and I hope that everyone will join our global journey with Mighty Little Beam to realize that great stories can come from anywhere and be loved everywhere. Culture, sort of transcending culture, country, and language. So with this, I want to launch the video that we have prepared today, entitled One Country, Incredible Diversity. We aim to celebrate Indian culture, and I invite our colleagues to launch the video. Thank you.
What's the best part about India? One country has such incredible diversity. From east to west and north to south, India encompasses a variety of terrain, cultures, foods, and ideas. These reflect in the variety of celebrations that take place. Festivals like Diwali, Pongal, Holi, Sankranti, Christmas, and Eid are just some of the festivities you'll get to see on this wonderful journey. But before all those wonderful festivals, let's talk about Independence Day. Independent India's first celebration. Our country is very diverse, and yet this celebration brought us all together as one for the very first time. Today we celebrate 75 years of independent democratic rule over India. India truly is one country with incredible diversity. May our country prosper forever. Jai Hind. UNESCO and Netflix have come together to promote the rich diversity of India's cultural heritage.
Thank you. I really hope everyone enjoyed that short clip. Thank you, Eric, for your very passionate words. I'm going to take back one line of yours, which is very powerful, and use it, reuse it many times. Culture is best practiced when shared. It's absolutely beautiful and powerful. Thanks for saying that. I would now like to call upon Juan Pablo Ramirez-Miranda, Program Specialist and Chief of Section, Social and Human Sciences, UNESCO Office, New Delhi, to moderate a discussion on Indian cultural heritage on a global digital stage. This discussion is between Rajiv Chilaka, founder and managing director, Green Gold Animation, and my colleague Monika Shergill, Vice President Content, Netflix India. Over to you, Juan.
Thank you very much, Ambika. It's really a pleasure to be here today as we launch our campaign, One Country, Incredible Diversity, to have this fire chat discussion with Rajiv and Monika on India's cultural heritage on a global scale. So without further ado, I will begin with the first question for Rajiv, which is basically talking about how there is great interest in Indian culture globally. And there are a myriad ways of showcasing India's cultural heritage. Mighty Little Beam is a title completely animated in India and is one of Netflix's biggest global hits with millions around the world. How did you come up with the idea of Mighty Little Beam, Rajiv? And what do you make of its global reception? Can you tell us about your journey with making Mighty Little Beam to begin this conversation, please?
Absolutely. JP, I'm very excited about this whole partnership, very thrilled that Mighty Little Beam is chosen in this partnership. So it's an honor for us. But yeah, to go back into the past, for us, back in 2012, when we realized that we've already achieved huge success with our show Chota Beam, and we wanted to take it international. And we always felt that best and perfect fit and platform for it would be Netflix. We tried reaching out to them, but we didn't get any response. And every quarter we would keep writing to them, and then we keep not hearing from them. Finally, in 2016, we met one of the Netflix officials in a media event in Korea, and he guided us to the right people for our content. And then we got a meeting with the LA office. And so to cut the long story short, it took us almost about meetings across 6 cities, 5 countries, and 3 continents over the span of about a year to have a handshake deal. And so we were, it was a very, I mean, it took some time, but it happened. So there's also a story behind how Mighty Little Beam happened to have. So in the third meeting, with Netflix officials, they wanted to buy our entire catalog, and then we mentioned to them that everything that we have is already sold, and nothing was available. They said, "Hey, can you make new Chota Beam for us?" I said, "Sorry, we cannot do that, but we can make a spin-off subject to approval from the Turner Corporation." And then they said, "Okay, let's. Do you have any idea about that?" I said, I have an idea of him being a baby. And I mean, that show is now called Mighty Little Beam, and they loved the idea. They asked us to make the pitch and stuff. So we did that, and then we made the pilot episode. They loved everything. We signed off. So it was always a dream for us to have a Netflix original. And I can't believe we did it. And that to a successful original. So very excited about that.
Thank you, Rajiv. So yes, that's how Chota Beam became Mighty Little Beam, and is now our partner, our animated partner to bring India's cultural diversity to the global stage. Of course, India has a rich repository of oral traditions, mythology, folklore, and art. For all of us who have the privilege of having been here, we know that it's almost never ending. Monika, the next question is for you. The campaign that we launched today is called One Country, Incredible Diversity. So what do you think is the role of storytelling in highlighting the diversity of India? What do you think would be the role of the digital entertainment industry in facilitating this type of cultural exchanges beyond borders?
Thanks, JP. First, I think I just want to add here that we are incredibly proud and excited to have Mighty Little Beam, be a sort of ambassador to this wonderful and unique partnership with UNESCO. So that is something which we are really excited about at Netflix. And where storytelling is concerned, I think it's one of the most powerful mediums. There's a part of culture that we live every day through how we dress, how we eat, how we speak and communicate to each other. And stories actually go way back, much before we even had a language of communication, whether it's through pictures, through art and craft, and many, many oral traditions, which then passed on storytelling. And I think where digital medium comes into the picture, what it really does is that it translates those stories, into very, very powerful communication and experiential tools for the audience. If I can give you an example, a story which is based for us on Netflix in India, a story based in Lucknow versus a story based in Madurai versus a story based in Kashmir, the kind of characters it will reflect, the milieu of it will reflect, the food habits of people. So you will have a plot which is a universal theme, so that because stories are based around universal themes and they appeal to people within country, everywhere else in the world. But also every story is based in its unique setting. And the people in that story really reflect that culture and the region where they are from. So I think that's the power that we have in storytelling. And where the digital medium is concerned, cinema in India has actually taken our stories to everywhere in the world. But what the streaming medium and especially a service like Netflix does is to absolutely dissolve the borders. What we create here, the stories and the culture, everything that's reflected travels across 190 countries. Just like, we have people in India who love watching Korean stories here. They love watching Japanese anime. We have Spanish stories doing well. The same way Indian stories have been traveling everywhere. Mighty Little Beam has traveled across the world, it's watched in LATAM, Australia, New Zealand, UK, US, everywhere. So I think that's the power of stories, and that's the power of visual storytelling.
Definitely, Monika. And yes, I mean, in that sense, despite the challenges we face in today's world, I think we cannot say that we are very privileged to live in this world where we have like these cultural exchanges beyond borders across the world, thanks to technology and all these digital platforms such as Netflix. So Rajiv, what do you think that are the opportunities that animation can bring in spreading this globally, like the rich oral traditions and mythology and that rich repository we were talking about, and to bring that to the global scene, especially for children? Did you imagine that Mighty Little Beam is becoming now kind of an India's cultural icon in some ways? How do you see this exposure and this capacity of Beam to reach out to children and families all around the world?
Yes, Mighty Little Beam is becoming India's cultural icon, and I definitely did not see that coming. So when we were creating this show, we realized that like music, animation is universal, and so is mother's love for her child and vice versa. And it is always more easier to connect with people across the world with animation. So when we did originally Dolakpur, which is the location in Mighty Little Beam, that was about 12 years ago with lesser resources. And then we realized that now we are taking the local content global. And for that, we have a chance to recreate everything that we did in the past. And we realize that to go global, we need to up our game. And that means more focus on art direction. I'm talking about color palettes to show how India is, the houses, the kind of clothes that people wear, sari, showing a lady, the mother in the sari, which is something very normal sight in India. I mean, for those who don't know sari, this is what Ambika is wearing now in blue color. So we decided basically to keep everything authentic and to show rural India like the way it is. And I think we know that about 60% of India's population lives in rural India, and they're generally very happy people. I mean, so I thought it will be great to show happiness. Children running. For children, happiness is just running in a playground and playing with their friends. Simple things, but just I mean, like children love to watch animals. Nature, and these kind of things, which as adults we forget to see in real world. I thought we have to bring out that all these in our show, and I'm glad we could do that, and people have seen it and loved it, and very grateful to that.
Simple things, but very, very powerful indeed. Well, the onset of digital streaming services, coupled with features like subtitles and the choice of audio languages, has given millions of people access to ideas and content like never before. For instance, people in 190 countries can now watch shows like Mighty Little Beam, and we have also seen greater diversity of content accompanying this shift. And this is part of what Eric was saying also. This is what we celebrate, the diversity of everything that is out there today. Streaming services have ushered in a world of storytelling like never before, enabling millions to watch content of their choice on their preferred device and at a time convenient to them, with controls and tools to have an enjoyable experience. So taking the example of Mighty Little Bean, Monika, that has been loved by audiences around 190 countries, can you tell us more about what are Netflix plans to continue to tell stories from India onto the global stage?
JP, we are at Netflix, we are all very passionate storytellers. Whether someone, is working in a team that's telling a story, or even my colleagues, Ambika and Dean, who are in policy, every single person in every function is very passionate about what we do at Netflix, and that's really create the best stories and take them around the world. So for us as Netflix India, we are here to very deeply invest and commit to the Indian entertainment industry. So whether it's in the form of, the stories that we select, we curate, in whichever format we tell those stories, whether they are films, they are original series, they are docu-series, or, it's the production partnerships that we have, like with Rajiv at Green Gold and so many partners that we have. We are constantly engaged in workshops to upskill talent in the creative community. And we've very recently, we've also invested in creating state-of-the-art post-production facilities in Mumbai. So this will be a set of 40 post-production studios that we have. And this will be a place for our directors, showrunners, editors, sound engineers to really, have the best experience, feel inspired as they're creating these stories. And also fundamentally across the board, our effort and intent in India is to, help the creative community create more jobs, and economic benefit also. At the same time, if I have to break that down into what else we do, localization is a very important part of how Netflix tells its stories anywhere in the world. So we have about 30 languages in which we sub and dub our stories. And, you will see a money heist in Tamil, and you will see a Jagme Thandiram, which is our Tamil film, in Spanish, in Portuguese, in various other languages, in French and English. So subbing and dubbing is a very important part of how we make stories travel across the world. Accessibility is also, you mentioned it earlier, and I would really like to underline this for all, the audiences of Netflix, that accessibility is a very important thing that we do here. We use technology to the advantage, of taking stories to the hearing and speech impaired audiences, where we have closed captioning, we have audio descriptors, we have screen readers which convert what is, on screen into their audio versions, so that more and more people can experience the story. And of course, we make ourselves available on different devices in different bit rates. for people to really be able to experience Netflix in the best possible way. So for Netflix, investing in the country and also really giving flexibility, choice, and control to everyone to experience the best stories is very important for us. So that's our passion here.
And that is also something that we have in common, UNESCO and Netflix. I mean, in this sense, UNESCO's mandate also encompasses protecting languages and promoting languages as part of this cultural diversity. Yet, we're talking about all of this. And we have, of course, noticed that Mighty Little Beam is in no language, and there are actually no dialogues. Rajiv, why did you decide for it to not have dialogue? Was this a conscious decision? Do you think this has played a role in helping international audiences enjoy this type of Indian content? Of course, India also has a vast linguistic diversity. Do you think that Mighty Little Beam was intended to be a symbol of India's unity in diversity in some ways?
Yes. So India officially has 22 languages and many more dialects and stuff. So it's crazy, the number of languages. And if you add worldwide, that is many more. But I mean, that when we were thinking, how do we do this show? And then when we started designing the character of Baby Beam, we started observing babies, we started studying them. Then I realized that the babies are so expressive that actually they can communicate, and they cannot speak at that age, and they can communicate practically everything. And to the mother always gets it, whether the child is hungry or he's sleepy or he's gone to potty or whatever, but the mother gets it always, and the people who are with the baby. So when we realize that in our story, Bhim's interaction is primarily with the mother and then the animals on his farm and other toddlers, then we realize that that makes Bhim's mother the only person who actually can talk. Everybody else actually cannot technically speak, animals and babies. So I thought, okay, why do we have to give a dialogue? And then we bounced this idea to the Netflix creative team, and they thought, okay, that's a great idea, but do you think you can tell the story in 5 to 6 minutes without using any dialogue? And remember, in the future, you may have a longer stories episodes without dialogue. So we said, Liz, we have never done anything like this before, but let us try for a pilot episode and see if we can communicate that. If that works, then we would be very excited. So we did that, and I guess we could tell the story without using dialogues. I think we succeeded there. And in fact, the emotion between mother and child relationship, which is again universal everywhere, that is something that we always focus on, be it between Bhim and his mother or the other animals and stuff. So I think that is beautiful across all cultures, and we really enjoyed doing that without dialogues. I think more emotion, more passion from the characters we could get out.
And it's such a great accomplishment to manage to have that tension between the universal and the local, and showcasing what belongs to one context but can be relatable to most countries in the planet. So this is great. And Monika, you already shared some ideas with us on this regard, but we want to keep hearing about the plans that Netflix has for taking the diversity of Indian entertainment, which is also a very big scene, to the global stage, and to the different languages and cultures within India, to the global scene.
Yeah, so on diversity, actually, JP, that's one of the most pivotal, themes around which we program what we do, not just in India, but in every country, but more so in India, I would say, because of the, like Rajiv rightly said, the sheer number of languages that we have. We are on the journey to program in more and more languages. Of course, even when we tell the pan-India stories, they are based in different parts of the country. So they really take the essence of the regions, the language, culture, like I mentioned. But also I feel, when we talk about diversity, it's also really about reflecting the lives of as many people as we can. And I think gender diversity becomes a very, very important part of that narrative. So reflecting, lives of women on screen, We know that women and entertainment is one of the industries where we still have more representation of women, but it has been a challenge. So as Netflix India, it is really our focus, and as Netflix Global also, to have more and more women's lives reflected on screen. It's really like we love to say this at Netflix, that we want to be the mirror where we are reflecting the lives of as many people as we can. And we also want to be the window, where we are sharing, the stories and cultures, etc., across different communities, regions, and countries. So I think that is a very important part when we talk about diversity. And for us, actually, at even within our teams, we have that we've managed to include that diversity amongst our own employees at Netflix. We have nearly 50% of our company, which is women in leadership roles and doing all functions across. When we talk about the creators and partners that we work with, I think in last year alone, we have collaborated with over 1,000 women creators, talent, crew, on and off screen. Then I think about 30 female producers and directors is what we brought to screen last year. We've gone ahead and got in 12 female writers to really be able to tell the stories of women and to be able to really reflect one half of the world's population, which kind of sort of gets ignored in storytelling. And even when we talk about culture, culturally, women are the ones who transfer culture a lot more through parenting, through observing rituals and customs. And, if you see what men wear, it's more or less uniform. I mean, I'm looking at all of you, you're from different cultures and all of you are wearing the same kind of clothing. But, women, and Ambika is wearing a lovely sari, like we noticed earlier. So I think women, through their clothes, jewelry, and language in which they speak to the children. And it's the language of love. It could be any language, but it is the primary language of love. So I think that is where Netflix comes in. That is the essence that we tell the stories with. And diversity is, like I said, very, very important to all our stories.
That's very beautiful to hear, Monika. And of course, for us as UNESCO, gender equality is a global priority, is mainstreamed across everything we do. And we are very, very delighted to hear that this is also part of what you are doing and the stories you want to tell from the perspective of women. Indeed, we are approaching the end of this fire chat discussion, this great conversation on One Country, Incredible Diversity, our campaign. But before we go, Rajiv, I want to hear from you. Through our partnership, we have reiterated the positive impact that the synthesis of culture and technology can bring. How do you think we can work now towards strengthening this vision for using content for diverse themes and therefore more social impact?
Yes, great question. So, before we made Mighty Beam, I started watching different animated shows along with children. And in one of the episodes, I saw that the four-year-old was watching an episode which was made in Europe, and the episode was about a festival of Easter. And so he was very curious, and he asked me questions and wanted to know more about the festival and the food they eat, like hamburger and stuff. So in that episode, they were mentioned. So then I realized that if a kid in rural India with very little exposure to the world can understand other cultures sitting here with little knowledge of internet or anything that he's got, I said, why not a guy who's sitting in a US or UK, a kid, he has more exposure actually, technically, because they have interacted with non-resident Indian children from across the world. Then I thought they can easily understand also Indian festivals and stuff. And in our episode, I thought it'll be a great way to expose Indian culture with festivals and and that way children can relate to India more, and probably they would want to come see India when there is Diwali or other festivals like Sankranti, the kite flying festival. So all these fun things that we have done as kids are somewhere with the busy lives that we are having, except the pandemic brought us back to our senses. We realize that the culture becomes very important. And of course, we have to keep that alive. Like our Monika rightly said, the women are keeping it alive. So as creators, we have an opportunity to also do that. And we thought through our shows, we should do that. And hence we try to talk about festivals, different parts of India, the kind of foods that we eat, so that universally, I mean, there is more understanding and people can relate more with Indian culture. So thank you for the opportunity of creating Mighty Little Beam Netflix, and thank you.
No, Rajiv, it's a pleasure to have Beam as our companion for this journey to celebrate Indian culture. And indeed, I mean, hearing all of this from you has certainly allowed us to understand better that with purpose, the global digital stage is indeed a platform for celebration of cultural heritage. In closing, Monika, I would like to hear from you a little bit more on how do you choose stories that can travel across countries, just like Beam? What other local stories are you planning to tell from India to the world?
I think we just look for stories that can really delight and entertain the audiences, that can be very authentic, that can be lesser told, and that have the universal appeal that everybody who could be sitting in any part of the world can really enjoy that story. But as we do this, I think the primary way in which we select a story is how local it is. Because I have my colleagues sitting in Spain who are selecting Spanish stories, which will also be watched here. So my primary responsibility is to really take the rich storytelling tradition of India and really find stories from different parts of the country, to find creators who bring their vision to us, who want to tell those stories, and to really tell them we are creative enablers. We want to tell these stories in the best possible way so that they'll, appeal to the Indian audiences. Audience sitting in North should be watching stories from South and vice versa, in East and West. To really see it as, like we say, the one country, incredible diversity. I know that that's the theme of the campaign, but that's truly how we really plan the stories also at Netflix. And so I think that is what we do, finding great stories and finding great creators and really being creative enablers for them to do their best work.
Thank you so much, Monika. It's really great to hear that we will continue to have this approach and this perspective, and we will continue to find this diversity and this beauty of course in Netflix and in your platform for the world. So I mean, with this, I can only thank you, Rajiv, Chilaka, and Monika, Shergill. It's been a privilege to have this conversation with you. This was short questions and short answers in the format. We decided to make this as let's say dynamic as possible. So thank you so much for your time, for being here with us, and for helping us understand the power of India's cultural heritage on a global digital stage. So with this, we have concluded this part of the program for today. And Ambika, I give back the floor to you, and I thank you all for your attention.
Thank you, Juan. Thank you, Rajiv, and thank you, Monika. This was very insightful and a very rich discussion. Mighty Beam is a cute and probably the most popular ambassador of India's rich cultural living heritage. And thank you, Eric, for explaining and reinforcing what living heritage is. I think consciously we should all really focus on making that one of the focuses of storytelling, so that, like Monika said, people all over the world can continue to enjoy India's stories. And finally, who doesn't enjoy his amazing laddus that give him superpowers to do anything that he wants to? I'll request Dean Garfield, Global Vice President, Public Policy, Netflix, to deliver the closing remarks. Over to you, Dean.
Thanks, Ambika. That was such a superlative conversation. I don't want to disrupt it, but it's great to have the the honor of closing this program. And let me begin by thanking UNESCO for this historic partnership. I would say UNESCO's mission is as resonant today as it was 1,000 years ago, which is highlighting the power of culture to not only present and share diversity, but also to pull people together. And that's very much a shared mission that we have at Netflix. The second point is that it's truly India's time, as the theme of this partnership, one culture with such incredible diversity, but also such rich storytelling tradition. You know, we as Monika has shared, are really excited about sharing India's culture with the rest of the world. For so long, the notion of culture and sharing culture was unidirectional. It was American culture being exported to the rest of the world. Fortunately for all of us, that has become more bidirectional. And Mighty Little Beam is a part of that, which is sharing all of the world's richest stories with the entire world, recognizing that great stories can be made anywhere and loved everywhere. Third and final, it's important to recognize that we're just at the beginning of this journey, not only the partnership with UNESCO, but in Netflix's role in sharing stories worldwide. As Monika noted, we have exciting ambitions about taking India's storytelling to the rest of the world in the form of Mighty Little Beam, but in the form of the rich array of stories that we know exist in India. Just yesterday at Netflix, we were having a conversation about a new show that's been on the service for a week, Navarasa, which is a Tamil story that's already has been seen by millions of people around the world. It's already in the top 10 in more than 10 countries. And excitingly, more than 40% of the people who are watching Navarasa are people outside of India. And so they are able to see that one culture and all of its incredible diversity. The power of Indian storytelling, as Rajiv and Monika noted, is also great in helping people to understand culture, but is also quite powerful in driving economic growth. The industry as a whole has spent over 43 billion kronas on content just in 2019. And the expectation is that there will be over 30% year-on-year growth going forward. And so we're just starting. We're excited about what rests ahead of us. And we very much look forward to doing exactly what Eric noted as at the beginning, which is ensuring that culture is at its most powerful, because we will be a part of sharing it with the rest of the world. So thank all of you for today's panel and conversation, and we very much look forward to working together in the future.
Thank you, Dean. And as we come towards the end of today's event, I wish to congratulate the teams of Mighty Little Beam, UNESCO, and Netflix for collaborating and promoting India's rich and vibrant cultural heritage to a very wide global audience that is waiting to love this culture more and more. I wish to thank all speakers and participants and wish you all a very good day. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.